Did you know that in 1986, a major disaster occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine? This catastrophic event occurred due to a combination of technical failures and human error, leading to a large-scale release of radioactive material. One aspect that contributed to the severity of the disaster was confirmation bias. The plant operators were overly confident in their knowledge and skills, which led them to disregard warning signs and safety protocols. They had convinced themselves that a reactor explosion was unlikely, despite evidence to the contrary. This confirmation bias caused the operators to make critical mistakes that led to the explosion and subsequent release of radioactive material. The tragedy had far-reaching consequences, including the evacuation of over 100,000 people, long-term health effects on the local population, and significant environmental damage. The Chernobyl disaster is a tragic example of the dangers of confirmation bias and the importance of remaining open-minded, especially in high-stakes situations. Hey rational rebels! Welcome to the arena of reason, where we train our minds to spot cognitive pitfalls. This is Chris from Critical Conditioning, where we strive for cognitive precision and free our brains from that mental prison. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the confirmation bias, one of the most common and insidious cognitive biases that can prevent us from seeing the truth. Confirmation bias can lead us to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, while ignoring or rejecting information that contradicts them. We'll discuss how this bias affects our decision-making process and offer practical tips to overcome it. If you enjoy our content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest episodes. If you find our content valuable, consider supporting us by donating via PayPal using the link in the description. And if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Let's train our minds together and achieve cognitive precision. Confirmation bias. Fun fact 1. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who believe in the paranormal are more likely to interpret ambiguous situations as evidence of paranormal activity, due to confirmation bias. This means that their belief in the paranormal actually reinforces itself, regardless of whether there is any real evidence. Confirmation bias is a pervasive cognitive bias that can affect decision-making in a variety of contexts. Over the years, researchers have conducted numerous studies and questionnaires to understand how the confirmation bias operates in people's minds. Here are some interesting and counterintuitive findings from these studies. 1. People with higher intelligence are more susceptible to confirmation bias. One study found that individuals with higher intelligence scores were more susceptible to confirmation bias than those with lower scores. This finding was counterintuitive, as one might expect that higher intelligence would lead to more rational decision-making. However, the researchers hypothesized that individuals with higher intelligence may be more confident in their beliefs and less likely to seek out information that challenges those beliefs, leading to a stronger confirmation bias. 2. The confirmation bias can persist even when people are aware of it. Studies have shown that simply being aware of the confirmation bias does not necessarily help people overcome it. In fact, one study found that even when people were explicitly warned about the confirmation bias, they still tended to interpret information in a way that confirmed their pre-existing beliefs. This suggests that the confirmation bias can be a deeply ingrained cognitive tendency that is difficult to overcome even with conscious effort. 3. The confirmation bias can affect memory recall. Another interesting finding is that the confirmation bias can affect the way people remember information. One study found that when people were presented with information that conflicted with their beliefs, they were more likely to forget that information than information that confirmed their beliefs. This suggests that the confirmation bias not only affects how people interpret information in the moment but can also impact how they remember that information over time. 4. The confirmation bias can be influenced by social pressure. Research has also shown that the confirmation bias can be influenced by social pressure. For example, one study found that participants were more likely to conform to the beliefs of a group when they believed that the group had high status or expertise. This suggests that the confirmation bias can be amplified in group settings where there is a strong social pressure to conform to the group's beliefs. 5. The confirmation bias can lead to false memories. Finally, the confirmation bias can even lead people to create false memories that confirm their pre-existing beliefs. One study found that when participants were given false information that supported their beliefs and were asked to recall the information later, they were more likely to remember the false information as true. This suggests that the confirmation bias can not only distort people's interpretation of information but can also lead to the creation of entirely false memories. In conclusion, these studies and questionnaires reveal the complex and insidious nature of the confirmation bias. It is not simply a matter of consciously seeking out information that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs, but a cognitive bias that can influence memory recall, be amplified by social pressure, and even lead to the creation of false memories. These findings highlight the importance of awareness and mindfulness in decision-making, as well as the need for strategies to overcome the confirmation bias. Confirmation bias. Fun fact 2: the concept of fanboyism in pop culture can also be attributed to confirmation bias. When someone is a fan of a particular franchise or product, they are more likely to notice and remember positive information about it, and disregard negative information. This can lead to a sort of echo chamber effect, where fans reinforce each other's beliefs and opinions, even if they may not be entirely rational or justified. Confirmation bias affects everyone to some degree, but some individuals are more susceptible to it than others. Personality traits such as closed-mindedness and dogmatism are associated with a higher tendency to display confirmation bias. People who are highly religious, politically active, or who have a fixed mindset may also be more prone to confirmation bias. Research has also shown that cognitive ability plays a role in the extent to which people display confirmation bias. Individuals with higher levels of cognitive ability tend to be less susceptible to confirmation bias than those with lower levels of cognitive ability. This may be because people with higher cognitive ability are better able to recognize and evaluate evidence objectively. Another factor that can influence the degree of confirmation bias is an individual's level of expertise in a particular domain. People who are experts in a particular field may be more prone to confirmation bias because they have a strong pre-existing knowledge base and are more likely to seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs. Finally, there may be cultural or societal factors that influence the extent to which people display confirmation bias. For example, research has shown that people from collectivistic cultures may be less prone to confirmation bias than those from individualistic cultures, perhaps because collectivistic cultures emphasize group harmony and consensus building over individualistic autonomy. Overall, confirmation bias is a complex phenomenon that is influenced by a variety of individual and contextual factors. By understanding these factors, we can begin to develop strategies to mitigate the effects of confirmation bias and promote more objective and rational decision-making. I got a quick question for you guys. What do you think about the idea that everyone is susceptible to confirmation bias, regardless of intelligence or education level? Do you believe that even the smartest and most educated individuals can fall victim to confirmation bias, or do you think that intelligence and education serve as a safeguard against it? Share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to read what others are thinking. Also, if you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned for more thought-provoking content. Confirmation bias is a common phenomenon that affects our daily lives, and it can manifest in various ways. For instance, if we believe that a certain political party is corrupt, we may only pay attention to news stories that confirm our beliefs and ignore those that present evidence to the contrary. This tendency to only seek out information that confirms our beliefs can result in an incomplete or biased view of the world. Another example of confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret ambiguous information in a way that confirms our beliefs. For instance, if we believe that we are not good at a particular task, we may interpret any feedback we receive as further evidence of our incompetence, rather than considering other possible explanations for the feedback. To spot confirmation bias in ourselves and others, we can look for signs of selective attention, such as only seeking out information that confirms our beliefs, ignoring evidence to the contrary, or interpreting ambiguous information in a way that supports our pre-existing beliefs. One way to overcome confirmation bias is to actively seek out information that challenges our beliefs and to consider multiple perspectives. This can help us to gain a more complete and accurate understanding of the world around us. Additionally, we can strive to remain open-minded and to approach new information with a healthy dose of skepticism. By doing so, we can avoid falling victim to the pitfalls of confirmation bias and make more informed decisions. Confirmation bias can have significant impacts on our decision-making and perceptions of the world around us. The most shocking thing about confirmation bias is that it is so pervasive and ingrained in human nature that it can affect even the most intelligent and rational individuals. We often believe that we are impartial, logical thinkers, but in reality, we are influenced by our preconceived notions and biases more than we realize. I've got a question for you guys. Have you ever witnessed someone close to you like your boss, spouse, family member, or friend being so convinced of something that they refuse to consider any evidence to the contrary? How did you deal with the situation and try to get them to see a different perspective? Share your experiences in the comments below and let's have a discussion about how confirmation bias can affect not only ourselves but those around us. Don't forget to read what others are saying and hit that like and subscribe button to join the conversation. Thank you for joining me today on Critical Conditioning, where we strengthen your mind's analytical skills and help you avoid cognitive pitfalls. We've covered a lot of ground on today's episode about the confirmation bias, and I hope you've gained some valuable insights and strategies to improve your reasoning abilities. Remember, critical thinking isn't just a skill, it's a mindset. And it's a mindset that you can cultivate every day through deliberate practice and awareness. If you found this episode helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to get notified of future episodes. Don't forget to hit the bell icon as well, so you never miss an update. If you know someone who could benefit from today's discussion, please share this episode with them. And if you want to support our work, please consider donating to our PayPal using the link in the description below. Your contributions help us continue to bring you high-quality content and insights on a regular basis. Keep your mind sharp, rational rebels, and stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions on critical conditioning. Until next time, this is Chris signing off.